Welcome back to Slaying the Craft, the show where we go inside the mind of a thriller writer. I'm your host, Sabrina Thatcher, author, podcaster, book coach, but most of all, fanatic of the genre. I am so excited to introduce my guest today. She is a fantastic writer that I hope that everyone runs out and gets these books. So Jenna Satterwaite. Satterthwaite.
Yes, Satterthwaite.
I used to work with a Satterwhite, and do you know how many times I want to say that? Satterthwaite lives in Chicago with her family. She's a literary agent as well as an author of two thrillers with Mira, Made for You and The New Year's Party. New Year's Party is coming out later this year. Under the pseudonym Sienna Sharp, she is also the author of a thriller romance called Beach Bodies in the UK. And in the US, you can see it right there, A Killer Getaway.
Oh,
Jenna writes a weekly Substack about all things publishing with thousands of subscribers, and I can attest it is fantastic. And if you want to get an author/agent insight, which is such a unique perspective, this is a Substack to be on. So welcome, Jenna.
Thank you. That was such a lovely intro, and I did not notice my books behind you until you literally pointed, and I was like, "Aww, they are."
Of course, we have to share. Everybody got to see the books. Okay, so your new one is A Killer Getaway, and I know in the UK it's called Beach Bodies, but it's the same book, right?
Yes.
So tell me about it. Like, what's the story about?
So this is about a woman, Lily Lennox. She lives in Ohio. She has a business. She's, normal, cool. Except that she leaves her business once a year in the summer to go lifeguard on an exclusive island resort, a wellness resort. And while she's there, every year, someone mysteriously dies.
Wow, how weird.
How strange. Anyway, it's not too much of a spoiler to say because there is a knife next to her on the cover.
Yes.
She is a killer. And once a year she goes to do that thing that she likes to do. But the year that the book takes place, there is a very attractive guest at the resort, Daniel Black. And he's a very enticing human, and he's very curious, and he's asking lots of questions. He might be onto us, I don't know. So there's it was fun to write, a fun tension of, are we going to fall in love? Are we going to
or is he going to catch me?
Or must I kill him before he catches me? A little cat and mouse game throughout. Yeah.
That is super fun. I was just like, I have so many questions that were running through my head. So you were saying, she goes like once a year. I think that's amazing. Okay, so you have her where she goes once a year versus like your standard serial killer is like as the urge. So I already like right off the bat, I'm like, this character is pretty like contained. Like she contains herself, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
She has a lot of grief and rage. And I won't get into all of the reasons because I guess those are spoilers, but she keeps it pretty locked down and then kind of allows herself to tap into it once a year for certain reasons.
Nice.
So it was very fun to write that portion of her life and really get to watch her kind of come out and become a bit monstrous.
That's amazing. That is so fun. So, what excited you most about writing this particular story?
Oh, so many things. Number one, I have never written a villain as the main character. I mean, I've written villains, obviously, in books and antagonists, but it's never been the main character. The main character has always been the one kind of along for the ride, who's trying to do good, whatever their version of that is. And I was immediately just so excited about seeing if I could make her compelling, and don't kill me for saying this, but likable. I know there's a lot of controversy about especially writing likable women. I do not think we must write likable women all the time. No. Absolutely not.
But there has to be a connection.
There has to be a connection.
Like likable. You have to be able to have some sort of connection with the character.
Absolutely.
Even Joe Goldberg has people connected to him. So honestly.
There you go. But for her, I did aim for likable. I wanted to. I thought it sounded like a fun challenge. Can I make readers like her as a person, root for her, understand her reasons, and get to that point that I've gotten to with other books of like, ooh, I kind of want her to succeed in killing. Yeah. Which is like that slightly uncomfortable, like, oh, I guess I'm on her side. So that was definitely a fun challenge. And it took me a lot of work to nail her voice. To me, that whether it's likability or whether it's just creating someone compelling, it's everything to do with voice. And for her, I was really shooting for a darkly funny kind of vibe.
Yeah.
You know, I didn't want it to be too serious or too funny, but somewhere in the middle where there's a little bit of maybe gallows humor. She's a little snappy, sarcastic, and I knew I wanted to aim for that, but I didn't know how to write that exactly. So the first
Yeah.
probably 15 to 20,000 words, I literally combed over those and redid them, reworked them probably half a dozen times
Mm-hmm.
before proceeding with the rest of the tens of thousands of words, because I wanted
Yes,
to
because you
make
gotta.
sure
Sometimes I agree. Like getting that first part right. This is the like where it's a trap, but
it
I
can
also
be a
understand
trap.
it.
Yes,
It can be a
it
trap,
can
but I do
100%.
get it. Like you want that first part right before you write the rest.
Especially with voice, because this to me
Yes.
is such I guess every book, has a voice and its own personality, but for this one that really had to carry it for me in a certain
Mm-hmm.
way. It really had to be about her really big personality and showcase that. And so I didn't want to walk through the plot points and not quite be there. I really wanted to know who she was, and it helped me know more who she was, to have to work on her and be like, well, what is she thinking, and
Yeah.
can she laugh at this point, or are we going serious here, or are we crying on the floor, which she does as well. She has a whole range of
Yeah.
emotions, my little girlie. But yeah, it was a very fun challenge, so that was exciting. And then the cat and mouse, that was exciting to
Yeah.
tackle. It turns out I'm not as good at that as I hoped. um, I have written one other romance, but it's unpublished. It was many years ago. My agent didn't even like it. And it's like young adult, just very different. And so this is the first attempt I've made at romance since then. And I was like, ooh, fun, cat mouse. And as soon as Lily, the protagonist, and the antagonist, Daniel, are in the room together, I was like, oh no. How do people flirt? Like, I forgot. I was joking at my book lunch the other night. Like, someone asked something about this, and I was like, yeah, I've been married for 20 years. Literally, our anniversary was yesterday.
Oh, happy
So
anniversary.
I thank you. I don't have to flirt anymore. And my husband and I were laughing because I do get very silly, which is kind of flirtatious, but it's not the
Yeah.
kind of flirting that would be compelling in a book. It's like a little just ridiculous. So I really had to work hard. And my husband was such like, this book would not be here without him. Every time I got to
Oh.
one of those scenes, I would force myself to finish the scene where they flirt, and then I'd be like, Adam, I don't know, I just think I wrote crap, and he would come in and he'd be like, yeah, this isn't good. He'd just tell me, oh no, that's not good. No, she wouldn't say
That's
that.
not good.
That's not hot. And then he would literally just start feeding me lines, and I would start typing. No joke. This is after the kids are in bed. We'd be there at night, and he'd be like, okay, and then he says this. And I was like, oh, that's good. Wait, stop. Let me write it down. So, if there's any successful sexy banter in this book, it is literally my husband. Like, his
Wow.
influence, sometimes directly just his words and his strong editorial vision for what this book could be.
Listen, that is amazing. And especially, so I think that's really interesting because the book I'm writing right now has a male point of view and female point of view. And they're like used to be lovers long time ago, but that's not really what the book's about. But they do come back together in a sense. And I was like, gosh, these scenes, and they're like writing in this car together. It's like super important for character building. No idea. I married my high school sweetheart. I have no idea.
How does
what
one
do you
do it?
I don't know.
How do you
I have
entice
no
someone?
clue.
I don't know.
I'm like the least if I'm the least flirt person, like I probably would just get really awkward if I like you. Like I just get super awkward. But like
start
I don't
getting weird, I think, and
I know.
tell
Like
a
I don't
story
know.
that doesn't make sense and
Yeah.
overshare. I don't know.
Yeah, overshare is yeah, exactly. Is that do we want to see that in books? Can anybody ever tell us? Is that what we want to see in books? Because that's the only thing I know.
I mean, maybe it could work in a comedic, like in a rom-com. I think
yeah,
that
I
could
could see it.
Cute.
It wouldn't work in a thriller, you don't think?
For a snappy serial killer moment, maybe not. Because, I don't know if Lily is an oversharer. I would say she's an undersharer.
I would imagine so, because contained,
exactly.
like I said, like she just seems contained.
Got to keep everything close. Yeah,
that's fun. Okay, so yeah, touch with these. So when you have this story, what do you want readers to walk away from this book feeling?
This was another huge challenge that I found exciting while writing and daunting at times. I want them to feel satisfied on both ends of the genre blend. I want it to be
I mean, those are two very like high expectations on both sides.
The romance community is a little feral and they scare me a little, and I hope I don't get crucified for saying that. Like, I guess I wrote a thriller romance, but
with you.
They're like, expectations, and like, God bless them, they can have those. But I was kind of like, oh no, I've been referred to a couple times as like romance author, Sienna Sharp, and I'm like, no,
no, don't throw me.
No, imposter syndrome. I'm a thriller writer, and I tossed in some sexy banter with the help of my spouse. I don't know what to tell you. I'm trying to be a romance writer, but I don't feel like firmly established. I've never thought of myself as a romance writer. So yeah, it was a huge aim of mine to deliver an ending that would satisfy the romance community and not have, everyone come with pitchforks to, my book events. And then on the thriller side, to deliver a compelling ending. And what made it extra challenging with this one is that Lily and Daniel are protagonist antagonist. They are against each other. They are at odds. And I was like, how the hell am I going to have a happy ending and satisfy the thriller component without kind of doing something cheap? Like, oh, well, now they're just happy. I don't know. Mm-hmm. They kissed.
They're riding off into the sunset.
It was hot.
Together.
It's fine. They're fine. Everything's fine. So that
he doesn't care. She's a killer. He's into it.
Exactly. Right. So that was a situation where, so I did sell this book on proposal. So there was kind of a light sketch of like the ending, but it wasn't really fully fleshed out, which was fine. I think synopses at that stage, not everything is always figured out, and my editor was fine with that. So my editor literally didn't know like how I was going to end it. Even though she knew the synopsis and where the book was headed. And I remember sending her the first draft and waiting patiently for days. I don't know if it was weeks. It was a little bit of time. And all of a sudden, I'm at my day job one day typing an email. And I had like Twitter open in another tab because I'm a bad girl. And suddenly like a DM pops in. I'm like, oh, who's that? And it was my editor, Thorne Ryan. And it was like, OMG, Jenna. OMG, 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 OMG. And I saw that and I was like, what? I'm thinking, what?
Yeah.
What's going on?
What happened? Oh no.
And what followed was this waterfall of like probably 50 tweets where she was basically live tweeting as she like read the end of the book and kind of like the climactic scenes and like how it resolves. And she was losing her mind. And that is probably
that's amazing.
The best reader feedback I've ever gotten in my life was that series of tweets where my editor was losing her mind. She was so funny. She's like, this is brilliant. I've never read anything better. You're a genius. Da, da, da. She's laying it on.
What an ego boost, too. Yeah. Oh, thank you.
And then
thank you.
She had to add
you don't have any edits, right? No edits.
Yeah, that's the thing is that then she was like, well, I do have a few revisions. She like snuck that into the waterfall of OMGs. Well, caveat.
Well,
you will
just
be getting
remember, I'm still going to edit
a few notes. Which she sent me a gorgeous edit letter with many fixes, and the book is better for it. But I have never gotten such a wonderful, like, in the moment reaction, and I'll never forget that moment of being like, yes, I set out to do the romance and the thriller, and I did it, and my editor loves it, and now I'm at peace, and whatever readers think is going to be fine, and I'm going to be kumbaya. So.
That's fantastic. I actually saw a review. I don't know. You don't read your reviews, or do you read your reviews? I can't remember.
I look at them sometimes. They
sometimes
actually don't bother me. Yeah, if they're good or bad.
Somebody said that it was a romance, but it had a really good thriller in it as well. So I wanted you to know that. I was like, okay, because they're like, this is a really good thriller. I'm like, okay, that is excellent to know that you were able to do the both, because that is such a challenge. And like romantic suspense is one thing, romantic thriller is like that's a different a different game.
It is different. I've seen the opposite though in reviews, because I've seen I think I've seen both. I've definitely seen ones that are like, this felt like a thriller with like a little romance tossed in, or like the romance ending came together too fast, or some romance readers were not 100% satisfied, but others were. So there's always going to be a mix.
I mean, you're not going to please everybody.
Not everyone's going to be happy, but I am happy with how it came out.
You are happy.
Which is, that's not easy to say. I think as writers, especially the further we get along in our journeys, like we know what's out there. We know the standard, and you want to make sure you feel completely satisfied and proud of what you're putting out. And sometimes there's that fear when you're not sure how you're going to pull it off of like, can I do this in a way that I am like starry-eyed about myself? And for this one I did, so yay.
Yay. Well, let's kind of talk about that a little bit because you know, for people who are coming up, they're new in writing or they're like early in their career, maybe they're not as into the publishing world yet. And they're like kind of figuring it out. There is this urge to compare yourself to finished books, like to see what else is out there. And I imagine, so you may have had to deal with that too, but I was going to ask if agenting affects this at all, but then I also know you wrote those books before you became an agent. So, but you did just write a book.
Yes.
Too, so.
Well, Killer Getaway, I wrote partly while I was agenting.
Okay.
I started December 15 of 2023. Mm-hmm. And I started agenting like January 10. And I think I finished the book in March. So there was a little bit of overlap, but anyway,
yeah. But so how do you kind of manage through that?
Manage through the comparison game of like drafts to finished? While I'm writing, I just don't do a lot of reading at the same time. I have to for the agenting side, but a lot of that is unpublished or, you know, drafts of manuscripts. So those aren't perfect either usually.
Yeah.
With some exceptions. Gosh, I have some talented authors on my list. But yeah, I think when I'm writing, I kind of go into the zone and I really don't, it's not time for me to read. And I can get away with that because I draft quite fast. Killer Getaway, I drafted in something like 7 weeks, maybe 8.
Okay.
My debut Made for You was 7 weeks to the first draft. And the one I just wrote was between June 15 and last Friday.
So that was like 8 weeks or 2 weeks or whatever you're saying.
Yeah.
Same kind of thing.
Yeah.
So, well, first of all, that's amazing. Second, because I'm like, I don't even know how getting through first draft is rough.
It's brutal.
It is rough.
It's so hard.
Brutal. It is so hard, especially if you're like, if you start to do that comparison and you're questioning, right? Like that starts to like slow you down. And anyway, so it takes you that long to actually write the book itself. How long does it take you to revise?
Yeah, that depends on the book. I've become a much cleaner drafter for my recent books. I used to write disasters, and I think that's fine. I did that. There are quite a few times that it worked okay, and I was able to fix it after the fact. I'm trying to think if I've sold any of those books, though, and the answer is no, I have not. I don't know if that's a coincidence or not. But I would say revisions, I go through kind of a series of steps that are the same every time. So the first revision is happening while I draft.
Okay.
At least for the past 2 books that I've written. This is not all my books, but my husband is looking at my scenes after I write them. So usually I kind of know where I'm headed. You know, I basically, I don't know, there's some brainstorming along the way, but I basically know the shape of the book. So I just kind of write forward, and then every other day or so, he'll sit down with me and go through like 1 to 3 scenes that I've written. We'll read them on his iPad and be like, no. What's his favorite word? No, that's not working. He's so sweet, but he's very direct, which I love because I'm all about efficiency during this process. So I'm like, okay, great. What's not working? And I'll be like, it doesn't sound like her. I'll kind of fix it, read it back to him, and we'll pretty much spend like an hour or 2 working through, say, like 5,000 words.
Yeah.
So he kind of does that sweep as we go forward. So by the time I'm done with the first draft, it's been edited as we go. My second pass is always with my critique partners. I have 2 that we've been in each other's lives for a long time. One of them is like a childhood friend. So they'll usually do a read. Sometimes while I'm writing, actually, depending on deadlines. Like this time, my deadline is September 1st to turn in my first draft. So I had her read along as I was writing as well.
Yes. Yeah.
I got all her feedback, so now I'm going to take that and do my next revision. So yeah, husband, clean up, and then 1 round of critique partners. And then if the book was unsold, it would go to my agent next. And she would do her round, and I would do another revision with her notes, and then we would go on submission. But since this one that I'm working on is sold, as was A Killer Getaway, My agent doesn't really need to do that round. She actually has been reading along for her request, which is so sweet with the draft I just finished, but mostly as like a cheerleader. Like, yes, you can do it, because I was struggling. It's summertime. I don't have
time. Summer's hard.
I have 3 kids. We're doing things. I don't have time to write a whole book, but I had to have time.
Listen, I'm sorry. You can just say the 3 kids. 3 kids, a full-time job, another job because you're an agent and you're an author. Like, it's not like you have nothing going on. And you have this amazing Substack, and like
it's a lot of stuff. And I think I didn't reach like mental health breakdown this summer, but I definitely cried many times and felt the despair in my soul of like, what? But I knew it was going to be over September 1st. By then, something must be sent.
Yeah.
So it's gonna be there. The journey through hell is bounded, and there is an exit. So that's kind of how I kept myself going, but it wasn't my favorite. I would not like to repeat the writing on deadline in the summer experience ever again.
Yeah.
Let it be known.
Yeah, I could see that. So let's kind of switch gears a little bit, and I'm curious about what drew you to write the dark and twisted. Like, why are you doing this genre? Why are you doing romantic thriller, sci-fi thriller, and not like why aren't you doing straight fantasy or next great American novel?
Because I've actually done all of those as well.
I know, because you have a ton of, you were saying you have like tons of unpublished books, right?
Yeah.
How many have you written total, you think?
I have a tracker somewhere. I think it's up to 13. The one I'm drafting is either number 13 or number 14.
Okay.
4 of them are sold. Yeah, and lots of them aren't. If you do the math, 9 or 10 or however many are left are unsold. One is on submission, and I'm hoping to sell it. That's very active. I wrote it recently, but there are a lot that I wrote just so long ago that I don't even remember if they're good or not.
Yeah.
There's like the 4 or 5 books that I queried before I got my agent, and then there were, with some overlap with those books, there were 6 books that my agent went on submission with me before selling number 6. So that's 5 books that died on sub.
Yeah.
With her. So that's just a lot of books. It was terrible.
But here's the thing. The books that you're putting out now are like better quality, right? They're because you've had time to practice and learn. And to your point, you were writing under different genres. So what brought you to settle on this one?
Yes, back to your question. I think just that's what sold first. So by the time I wrote Made for You, which I know you have behind you, but I also have right here. So pretty.
Made for You. It's so good. If you like The Bachelor, you have to watch. You have to read this book.
It was such a blast to write. I loved it. We won't get into that, but at the time I had a women's fiction and an epic fantasy on submission with my agent.
Wow.
And I still...
You really are writing all the genres.
I was writing everything. I don't think the epic fantasy is romantasy. It's more epic fantasy or high fantasy but a heavy romance subplot. There's like fated lovers and some reincarnation shenanigans, which I guess everyone has done, it turns out. But I didn't know, because I wasn't actually like reading a ton of fantasy. I just was in the mood to like give it a shot, and I loved the experience. It was so fun. I really thought that would sell, but I thought all my books would sell, and then they didn't.
Yeah.
So I think
you have to have some level of delusion
in
order to do this. Like there has, and maybe it's not delusion, but it is just like you've got to have that little bit for yourself, because no one else is going to have it for you.
And I did that literally for a decade. Well, 8.5 years before I sold my debut. So closing in on a decade, every book that I wrote, I thought this one will get me an agent, or once I had an agent, this one will sell. And I was proved wrong like a bajillion times, but somehow I did keep believing every time I wrote a new one.
Yeah.
So back to your question that I still have not answered. Since I had a women's fiction out, an epic fantasy out, I was like, I want to do something different. I want to hit editors that there's no overlap, just a whole different set. And I had been reading a lot of thrillers just for fun. May Cobb, Laurie Elizabeth Flynn, I don't know, a ton more that I can't think of right now because I have brain freeze, but and I was like, maybe I should give that a try. And my first thought was, I don't know if I'm smart enough to do it. Literally, that was my first thought, which sounds so silly, but I was like, I don't know how you know.
Listen, here's what I'm going to say, because this is for people who are writing mystery thrillers, this podcast. Yeah. also understandable. Like, you have to solve a mystery.
So hard.
First of all, I don't know how to commit a crime, and then I don't know how to solve a crime. Yes. Like, how, what? And then somehow I have to have like a lay person's doing it if I'm not doing a police officer where there's rules. Like, what?
So complicated. So complicated.
It's so hard.
And it's very hard, I found, I think, as I entered the kind of mystery realm and thriller realm, like, to find that motivation for your character. If they're not a police person and it's not their job to solve the crime, why the hell are they getting involved? Because that's a pain
Why
in the
are
ass.
You getting involved?
Why?
Go call the police.
You're in danger.
I've had that question so many times. Why didn't she just call the police? Why didn't she just call the police?
Right. And so writing a book where there's a motivated person solving a crime in a way that doesn't feel too gimmicky is quite tricky. But yeah, somehow Made for You, I wrote it. It was so easy to write. And I was like, oh, I can do it. I know it won't be easy every time, but it was silly to think that it takes more skill to write a thriller than an epic fantasy or a women's fiction. They all take skill and different, I don't know. They all tap into kind of different parts of the brain. I think the world building in epic fantasy is a whole different thing.
Oh, yeah.
And then to me, in romance and women's fiction, making the relationship exciting enough when there's kind of no plot sometimes.
Yeah.
Like, that's a whole skill. You've got to have some like real emotional intelligence there.
Yes.
To make that compelling and make it feel interesting.
And depending on your level of spice, like, you've got to have some skill in what you're writing there too, because not everything's gonna work.
You know, writing sex is very challenging. That's a whole other thing we could get into. So I think in the end, like, writing a thriller, I was like, oh, this is no harder than any of the other stuff that I've written. It's just a different set of challenges. And since then, I've come to feel, probably because I've written more of them, that murder mysteries are the easiest thing to write. Because there's murder done. Like,
yeah, you know the crime.
You know,
like it's
epic fantasy. We could have dragons. What's the climax? It could be a battle. It could be a marriage. It could be anything. But with murder, it's murder. That's it. Yeah, that's the thing.
Cut and dry, easy. We know what's happening. Right.
It's
we know what we're walking into.
Great framework to kind of start hanging things on. It's come to feel like a very not comfortable place. It's not easy to write any book, but my mind has gotten used to thinking that way, like, ooh, what's the exciting death? And then we can go from there. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think there's also a piece with writing like mystery thrillers is that you have the game that you're playing with the reader, which is another level of playing with how you're doing things. Like, I genuinely don't know if I could. I mean, it would be a challenge for me to try to write something not in the genre, because I'd be like, oh wait, no, I can't. I need to tell them that. I can't hide that. Like, what do you, what? I mean, I even read books that are out of the genre and I'm just like, where's the murder? Like, I don't know.
When is someone dying? I know.
Where is the death at?
If it's not there, like, it's kind of a letdown.
But it is fun. That part is kind of fun. And then as a reader, I think it's always fun to see if the author was able to pull it off. Or my favorite, I don't know about you, my favorite is when I'm convinced I know what the end is, and then I'm right, and then there's the twist that I didn't see coming. That's the one that gets me every time. Because I like to be right. I'm like, I know what's going to happen. Yep. Feeling very smug. And then the twist happens after the fact. And that is what gets me. So.
I'm getting the chills because I just know that visceral feeling of that very final twist. And you're like, yeah. And that's the one that just kind of drives the knife in. And sometimes
like, what?
Has that like extra emotional twist as well. Yes. And it's so satisfying.
It's the best.
It's
the best. Okay. So if you could teach a new writer one thing, what would it be, and can you teach it to me right now?
Does it have to be about specific craft, or can it be attitude that helps you kind of...
Anything. Yeah, anything, attitude. Anything that will help with them being, with listeners and me, being able to finish the book.
Okay. I mean, I have a few things. On a craft level, I would say when you're stuck... or if you're stuck, especially if you're a pantser, figure out what you're writing towards. I used to be a pantser with a lot of my books. Now I'm a plantser. I do pants, but I plot a little bit. It's kind of funny because I'll plot and then I'll actually abandon the plot as I pants instead. But having thought about the plot in advance helps me pants in a smarter way.
Right.
And I remember writing books that I literally didn't know how they would end. Like, and it was such a fun journey 10 years ago and 5 years ago. And I think that's a fine method that can work for people. But I would get to a point of writer's block, and over again, now I know from the perspective of all these years later, because I had no idea what I was writing towards. I didn't know what the final climactic scene either was or what I wanted it to feel like and where I wanted my main character to be at the end of the book. Like when we're winding it down and we're having our epilogue, who are they?
What was the change?
What was the change?
Like what
did they just have to go through? And so I think, to me, getting stuck in a book usually tells me I need to kind of take more of the 20,000 foot view, zoom out, stop thinking about, but what scene could come next or what could they do next, and be like, well, wait, where are we headed? And it always sheds clarity. I don't know, always. It most of the time sheds clarity on ways to get there. I wish I had known that 10 years ago. It would have saved me a lot of grief.
So how would you say that you do that? How do you make that separation where you step back to that 20,000 foot level and you're not like, oh, the scenes or whatever, and you're asking those questions? Because I can see as a book coach, it's easier for me to do for other people, but my own work, like, so what do you do to help be able to make that evaluation of your own work?
I'm a verbal processor, so it helps me to talk it through with either my husband, who's such a supportive person in my writing thing, or one of my critique partners who know me well and who frequently brainstormed the book with, and so they know already what it's about, where it's going. It could be like a 2-hour conversation. I've literally done that over dinner with my friend, where we're just kind of, well, what are all the possibilities on the table? Right. It could be this person dies. It could be these two people end up happy, actually, or you just kind of say everything. And I think it's so important not to hold yourself back during brainstorming, especially when you're revisiting. It can feel it's an uncertain, you're delving into the uncertainty of it all when you're reconsidering where you're going, or maybe considering for the first time what all the options are. It can feel scary, and there's the temptation maybe to edit yourself before you speak. But I say just say ridiculous stuff. Like, it doesn't even matter. Say the stupid thing that popped into your mind, because that really unblocks something when it starts like
when you start getting like silly. The alien came down, an alien came and took her. That's how she lives.
But you say this silly thing, and then there's something in that you're like, but wait, what if?
Okay, but this is how it could
There's actually one character who thought they were aliens, and of course he's wrong, and da-da-da. But then when he saw the lights, that's why he came. Sometimes the crazy thing that you say taps something else. And, weird associations can kind of come together and suddenly present you with a solution. So definitely brainstorming with people who know what you're working on. I think the other thing is you don't have to figure it all out. I used to think plotters, had a very detailed vision of how everything had to work out. And you know what you're writing towards because you have planned that last scene. And some people do.
Yeah.
When I say I'm a plantser, which is a plotter plus a pantser, my plotting, I think you've probably gotten this from this conversation, is a bit sketchier. So with the Killer Getaway, I was kind of saying, like, I knew I wanted it to end with this flavor, but I wasn't quite sure how to do it. Right. So I left it a bit sketchy. But you know what? That was enough to give me direction. Like, we're aiming for this. It was almost like a vibe. We need to bring some kind of resolution between these two characters in this location. And I kind of wrote towards that without knowing what was going to happen. And by the time I got there, I knew what to do. And the same with the book I'm working on now. Like, over and over, I remember my husband being like, but what is the final confrontation? And I was like, I don't know. It's between
Stop asking me that!
It's between this person, this person, this person. It's in this location that we've already seen, which is going to be really exciting. I don't know who kills who or who walks out alive, but I know it's the three of them here. And that's all I needed to know, is we're writing towards this moment where these people are going to have an interaction. I don't need to figure out what the interaction was or is, or, who has what weapon. I don't know. I'll know later. And I did know later. By that time, my character had bought a bunch of things that were kicking around in her purse and had weapons, which I didn't know before because I hadn't written it. So by the time we got to that scene, she had like a little taser gun or whatever, the stun gun from.
And you were like, perfect.
And I was like,
this is exactly what we
can break out the stun gun, but then we're going to foil her because that's too easy. And then the knife is going to come out, and then that's going to get flung across the room, and then we're going to have all the drama with the weapons malfunctioning. But I couldn't have planned that out prior to writing it.
Yeah.
But I could write towards that 20,000 foot, these people in this moment with this vibe.
Yeah. Right. And then did you have an idea in that sense too? You were like, this is what I want or this is what the character, how they're changed by the end. Ish. Because I guess you can't really tell me. Don't tell me anything more about your ending. I'm not going to talk about that. Anyway, but at some point in the process, you think about that.
Like, I won't say what changing? It is. No, absolutely. Yeah. And this one was an easy one. And without spoiling anything, the twist really forces her to confront some misbeliefs that she had. Okay. And some kind of tensions that I'm like exploring throughout the whole book. And I won't say what that is, but I'm very excited about the book. It's unannounced. The contract is signed. It hasn't been announced yet, but some of the themes.
Oh, the one you're writing right now.
Oh, sorry. I'm talking about the one I'm writing right now. Sorry.
Oh, I thought you were talking about this. I was like, don't give away the ending for this. No. What are you talking about?
Sorry. I am, as you can see, on my mind is the book I'm drafting.
Juggling in your head. And you just had another announcement today for one of the ones you sold. I'm sure you've got a lot of books in your head.
So many books in my head. But I think what excites me a lot about writing A Killer Getaway, but also drafting the next Sienna Sharp book, which is another thriller romance, is I really get to work in things that I care about and watch my main character grapple with that and then change. And I don't quite know how they'll change because they're complex themes that I'm dealing with. You know, so in Killer Getaway, there's like themes of body shame, and a huge theme is basically that women can't win with body image. Like wherever you sit on the spectrum of like size or shape or whatever our society's standards for beauty are, there is negative attention coming your way. And as a skinny girl who never bloomed and has like no boobs, I always like was so jealous of the curvy girls who developed early. So when I was like 11, 10, 11, 12, 13, I was like, they have it so easy. They have it so easy. And I am just going to have this hard life.
No. Nope.
As a kid.
Incorrect.
I know. I have learned since then. But I think I've heard from, I have like a wonderful friend who was in the camp of developed early, got her gorgeous curves. But she was like 10 at the time, and she had a whole group of like guy friends, like boys that she would run around with.
Yeah.
And then they like ostracized her. They looked at her different. She wasn't welcome anymore.
It just messes with your head.
It messed with everything. And so she and I connected while I was writing this book, and we were sharing kind of our body development stories with each other and what that was like. And it was such an eye-opening conversation because I was like, oh wow. She thought girls like me had it easy because we stayed skinny and kind of flew under the radar and never got, the chest or the hips. And I thought girls like her had it easy when really all of both of us.
It just all sucked.
It all
sucked for everybody.
There was criticism. I think in A Killer Getaway it deals with the main characters, traditionally beautiful, tall, curvy, model-esque, etc. But she kind of is grappling with that put a target on her back. And she was labeled as the dangerous one. Her body is dangerous. She might be trouble.
So she was like, okay, I'm leaning in. I'm already really liking Lily.
She eventually leans in, but it takes her a while to get there. Because at first she just wants to cover up and not have anyone look at her. Because she's a kid when this happens and a young teen. So she does eventually come into her own. And by the time the book is happening, is using her beauty to achieve her shenanigans,
her dangerous goals. She is dangerous at that point. Okay.
But yeah, it was really fun for me to look at body shame across the spectrum, all the way from fat shaming to slut shaming and everything in between, and kind of recognize that, oh darn, I brought a daughter into the world who's gonna have to deal with this because the world didn't get better between when I was a kid and when she's a kid, and she's 12 right now. She's really tall, almost as tall as me, and darn, I wish I could have made the world a better place for her. But this The Killer Getaway is a little bit of my cry of rage against why can't we win no matter how we look, why are we objectified no matter and then also I think a subtle cry of let's root for each other as women. I think Yeah, as again, like a skinny mini. I remember there was one time in my life, this is so silly. I was like a young teen, so I was an idiot. Uh, not no, young teens aren't idiots. I was an idiot. I had no idea what was going on. I'm sure other teenagers are wise and wonderful, but I was very clueless. And, you know, you're not particularly sensitive at that point. I would say always to other people. And when I was 14, I thought my butt was so big. It was not. Spoiler, it was
Oh my
not. But
gosh.
I
Yeah.
everywhere I went, I was like, everyone's looking at me. Everyone's looking at my thighs and they think they're huge. And for some reason my feet. I was obsessed with this idea that my feet were giant and everyone was staring at them constantly. And I remember being in some group of girls and like mentioning that or complaining about it. And they got so mad at me. Like, they got so mad. They were like, no, you have no idea what it's like to struggle with weight. And, you know, in a way, it was good that they put me in my place and made me kind of reconsider, like, look, think about your audience and think about
Yeah.
who you're saying this to. On the other side, like, on the other hand, it made me self-conscious for the next probably 15 years about, oh, as like a person who looks skinny, I can
Mm-hmm.
never mention my weight or complain about it in front of any other woman because I will
Yeah.
get shut down. And
Yeah.
I've been through pregnancy and pregnancy loss and weight fluctuations, and I've had my own share of insecurities that I've felt like, you know, boohoo me, but like, but that I can't share always
Yeah.
because I don't want to get piled on. And so
I
it's,
mean, and that's fair because, like, 100% that definitely happens.
I think it
That
happens
definitely
in all
happens.
directions of
Yeah.
like when there's someone who's having body struggles, but there's something about them that's different than you, sometimes there's not space for that.
Yeah.
And same for me. I had a friend in high school who had like the most gorgeous bod of all time. And she was complaining about her boobs and how she couldn't wear all the tops that I could wear. She's like, Jenna, you
Yeah.
can wear anything. You can wear like a little spaghetti strap top. You can wear this. You can wear that. But if
Uh-huh.
I wear any of those, people will think I'm a slut. And
Yeah.
so I'm very limited with what I can
Mm-hmm.
wear. And at the time, again, idiot teenager Jenna, I didn't say anything rude, thankfully. But in my mind, I was like, "Ugh, I want those boobs. I want to look like you. How, like, blah, 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 blah. Like, you're gorgeous. So it was me too. I also had that kind of
Yeah.
block of like really not being able to receive someone else's story.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas that was genuinely how she felt. And gosh darn, I wish I could go back and have that conversation with her as a 42-year-old woman and be like, tell me
Yeah.
more. Like,
Yeah.
wow, that sounds hard.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly. And I think, and it's such a common thing, especially for women in society, in American society, especially. Yeah, you just like you can't win.
yeah.
Um, I don't know if I've told you this before, but I had weight loss surgery about 5 years ago, and I've lost about 100 pounds now. And that was like the way that the way people interact with me
Hmm.
now, even versus then, is different. The way
Oh
I
my
interact with
gosh.
myself and the way that, like, would wear a lot more hoodies and things like this to hide.
Hmm.
And so it's all just like a really weird thing that you're just like trying to figure out. As women, we have to try to figure out how are
Hmm.
we moving through the world in a way that is safe
Yeah,
and comfortable for us.
100%.
And it doesn't matter how big or small or whatever it is. Like those are the two things that are most important. And we can't really do that because of between shame or fear or whatever. Like
Yeah,
it's
it's
such a
tough.
huge thing.
Yeah, what I hope most for my daughter, since I can't get a perfect world for her, is that she'll find great friends that she
Yeah.
can be open with and, you know, support and be supported by. So
Hmm.
definitely in A Killer Getaway, I was kind of trying to highlight a little bit like that it's not just from the outside or from men. Like sometimes we're not understanding each other, and
Yeah.
um,
And women can be even worse. We can be
yeah,
so much worse to each other. Like we were saying, like supporting women, and instantly I always think about like that little meme or gif that's like, "Let me straighten your crown." Like your good friends, they want to straighten your crown. That's
for
what
sure.
girls should be doing for each other, right? So like it's the not tearing down and
And it
yeah,
starts with good listening. Everything starts with good listening because we all have assumptions and judgments. We just
right,
develop them almost without always consciously willing it. And I
yeah,
think what marks the marks of maturity and wisdom are you always listening in a way that's pointing out your prejudgments and assumptions and deconstructing them? So I think of wisdom as like a forward path that you're walking, but it's also looking like wisdom is operating backwards and taking apart those, oh, you thought this, you thought it was easy for this type of woman, or you thought her struggle wasn't as bad as yours. And whereas really we don't need to be comparing, we can actually just open our ears and open our hearts and walk away with like the imprint of someone else's experience on us. Anyway, I love Killer Getaway. Y'all should read it.
No, I was going to say, and to bring that back to writing, I think that is part of what we're trying to do, right? Like, you're wanting to bring those experiences in, and that's how I think people find through books like they're not alone, right? Like they're 100%. Having that as well. So
yeah, and book I'm drafting is very much a continuation of these themes in a different direction, and I'll just plug that a tiny bit because it will be a next summer release, but that one is also very much about body shame, but more from kind of the modesty slut perspective.
Oh yeah.
And a little bit of a dismantling of purity culture, if you're familiar with what that is from evangelical Christianity.
Very familiar.
We are grappling with that in the next murderous thriller, and that one has been very fun to think about, and that one is very much leaning into like the sisterhood of women and when that breaks down and the consequences of that, as well as men being assholes, of course. Sorry, some men are great, but some aren't. Are great. Some are not.
But
so I love exploring these, and to me, like, writing is a journey of. I'm not going to call it self-therapy, but I'm tempted to. Maybe I should call it that.
I think it kind of is, actually.
It's like a
it's
tool
with the things that we like. It's processing.
It's processing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you probably know this better than a lot of people, but like, you know, with my mom just passing, I've been writing about my characters going through grief and stuff, so it's processing that. And it makes such a big such a big difference.
I'm glad you're processing that way. It's such a I don't know, it's such a good
cathartic
tool.
But also terrible.
It's terrible, but it's also
terrible.
I don't know if you feel this way, but it's
there's a lot of times where I'm like, I can't even do this anymore. But no, like it is also very cathartic and like processing through those.
And it's like a safe space. Your book doesn't talk back to you.
And nobody has to see it.
Nobody has to see it. And I've also worked through a lot of my grief. Through every book I've written since my sister's cancer and since her death, every single one is also about grief. And I don't think that will ever stop.
It's just not going to, it's just there, right?
Yeah.
But well, to switch gears a little bit, one of the things that we talked about is you have this book under Jenna and you have this book under Sienna. Do you want to talk about like what writing under a pseudonym? How'd that happen? Where, like, why? What's going on? What's this?
Sure. Yes. So, actually, this is my chance to show off the UK edition. So the UK, Penguin Random House UK originally bought a Killer Getaway, which was called Beach Bodies. This came out in June, so 2 months prior to the US release. So, after they bought it, it was a conversation with my editor of like, they really wanted to differentiate this from what I'm currently doing with HarperCollins. And they were really aiming for like, I mean, the front of the book says it, Bella Mackey meets Emily Henry.
Okay.
So they really wanted to lean into that romance thriller combo and make it a little bit fluffier. I do think I failed to write it fluffy. I do think I just am actually not capable as a human of writing fluff. I try.
It's just too dark. It's too dark.
The shit somehow comes out and I can't do it. But yeah, the idea is to have it be a more, I don't know if lighthearted, but more fluffy leaning, can we call it that? Romance thriller brand. And their vision at the UK publishing house was really to kind of create this brand, and you know, they just bought another book for this, so they seem very committed to it. And
that's awesome.
Having the pseudonym allows me to also shop my next Jenna Sattherwaite stuff separately. And so we've written the contracts to exclude that. So we have kind of two separate streams. Normally, if you're just writing under your own name, often it's tough to sell to multiple publishers at once, unless you're doing different age groups that those publishers don't touch. So there are some authors that are doing their adult stream and then their middle grade series, both under their name. There are plenty of people doing that. But to have two different adult, actually kind of adjacent genres.
Yeah, they're kind of adjacent.
They're not that far apart. To be able to do both as long as each one takes me, it made sense to have them be separate kind of entities. I mean, it's not a secret. My name is on the copyright and so forth. And it all goes back to my social media. So it's not a secret, but it's two different streams. And I think
but that was a strategic decision that you made with your agent, or as you were looking at how you want to manage your career, right? Like it was a strategic move.
Yes, 100%. To open up so that I could have two parallel paths kind of going with two different publishers.
Yeah.
Sell more books.
I mean, if you can write more books, all the better for you. Like, I mean, it only takes you 8 weeks to write one, so
I mean, 8 weeks of tears and gnashing of teeth, and my kids like wanting me to watch a movie with them and being like, "No, mommy has to write." So I can't do it too many times per year. Like once a year is my sweet spot, maybe twice, but no more.
So we are going to move on to the section that I call rapid fire questions, but don't freak out because it is not actually rapid fire. I have yet to do it rapid fire, so don't freak out. So these are the same 10 questions we are asking everyone who's coming on here, and there's no right or wrong way to talk about your process. Right. So first up, what is on your desk?
I don't have a desk as a writer.
Okay.
I write in bed on my laptop or in front of the fire, so nothing, because there's
nothing. Do you have a lap thing, or you literally just laptop? Oh,
laptop on the lap. PJs are a must. I must be in PJs when I'm writing. It must be evening. That's when my brain turns on. I think because I trained it to write in the evenings from years of having to write in the evenings. That's now like when I naturally am like, oh, now it's time to do this. Yeah.
Okay. Well, that was the one that goes to the next question, which is what ritual, if any, do you have before or after you write?
Oh gosh, for sure PJs. I need a change of clothes between my day job and my agenting and when it's time to be creative.
Yeah. I can see that like causing like a physical.
Oh my gosh, I relax.
Mental, like physical change in your mental state.
I need a beverage. If that makes sense. I have like my seltzer water right now, but I might have something stronger later. Sometimes there's tea, sometimes there's kombucha, some kind of fun beverage, and I don't even necessarily drink it. There have been literally times when I've poured myself some whiskey and that glass of whiskey has sat there for 2 hours, and then it's like 10 o'clock and I wrote 2,000 words and it's time for bed, and I like pour the whiskey back into the
bottle. Well, that was helpful.
Or like a psychological, like I have the option to make this,
you have a fun drink
fun
nearby.
And relax. But I don't necessarily actually drink it because I get very focused when I'm typing.
Okay. So if you are writing, and apologies, I cannot remember if your other books are multi-POV, but if you're writing multi-POV or multi-timeline, do you write straight through like the reader would read, or do you write each section and then weave them together?
Straight through. So Made for You is dual timeline, and I wrote it straight through.
That's right.
I had planned on doing it the way that you just said, doing all of the now scenes, which is where the big mystery is happening, and then all of the then scenes, going back and filling them in. And I didn't. I started writing, and somehow I just had to write it in a row. My brain wanted to, and it worked. And
that's amazing. It's so amazing. Every time I ask this question, I'm always, and almost everybody does it all the way, like you're saying, but like my brain just doesn't work that way. I don't know what it is. I can't make the switch. Switching is so hard.
As long as we get it done, though, no one cares how it happened.
All that matters.
My November book is multi-POV. And
it's 7 10 POV.
Don't kill me. I'm sorry.
10 POVs.
I know it sounds like a lot.
Party.
Some of them only have a couple touches at the end, so it's not 10 the whole way through. The focus is really on a few main people, and then there's a couple like extras. But that one I also wrote all the way through. I just started with one person, and then the next showed up, and the next showed up, and the next.
That's amazing. You're like, well, I guess this is happening.
I guess we're doing it. Yeah, I never thought that book would sell. I was like, 10 POVs, no one wants this.
But it worked.
It worked.
Oh my God, I cannot wait to read it.
I'm excited about that one.
Okay, so what is the most bullshit piece of advice you've ever heard?
Write every day. I've never done that. Yeah. Like so I did start writing at this point, is it 12 years ago, 11 years ago? Doesn't matter. Lots of years. And I wrote a couple novels in quick succession. They were terrible. I queried them a little bit. I failed big time. No bueno. Um, and then I like had a baby, and I didn't write for a year. And then I came back and kept writing. And
Yeah.
then, with Killer Getaway, I wrote that, and I didn't write anything else. I finished it in March. I didn't write anything else until November. I opened a document to look at something. Like, I didn't even like write another book in November. I just considered writing another book. So I need long breaks between books because
I can see that. Like, it's so much brain power and so much energy that you're putting into this. And it, like, especially if you're doing it in like the short bursts kind of like that, you're just, I don't know, it's just like super hard energy. And then
there's one needs a break. If not, my life will be completely imbalanced. I don't think you need to write every single day to keep the habit up. If people can do that, that's freaking awesome. And sometimes I wish that was me, but it's not. And I remember feeling guilty about that because I heard that advice so much that I was like, well, I am clearly doing it wrong. And that must be why I'm having writer's block or struggling. No, none of that was anything to do with anything. My energy rhythms work this way. And I just need to chill about myself and like do my thing.
I keep saying this like every episode. I think like keep your eyes on your own paper, keep your eyes on your own paper, because that's like all you can really do. You can only control what's going on with you, and it's hard. It's hard.
It is hard, but if the guilt is no fun. Guilt and jealousy, neither one is fun.
Neither of those are fun.
So if you can avoid them, do. I don't think we can avoid them perfectly. We all dip our foot in the nasty swamp water sometimes, but hopefully we're smart enough and capable enough and strong enough to dip it back out. And we're like, no, pull back, retreat.
No, I'm not going to do that.
I'm not Stephen
I'm not
King.
going to make this bad choice that these characters make. I'm not making these bad choices. So what's the best piece of advice you've heard?
Best piece of advice I've heard. I don't know. I've heard so much. I can't keep track of all of it. But the best piece of advice I've come up with over the years is I have to write because I like it. I am motivated by pleasure. I'm a hedonist, so I can be very disciplined and push through misery. I just did it this summer. But ultimately, if I don't like what I'm doing, there's the death toll. Is that the right word? Like there's no, it's just not going to be sustainable long term. So finding ways to like enjoy what I'm doing, and more importantly, doing it for myself, which sounds really stupid, and I have to say what I don't mean. I don't mean that you can't have ambitions or want the six-figure deal or be working towards the six-figure deal of finding the agent or being strategic or thinking about pen names or whatever you've got to do. For sure, there's a business side. We all want money. I want money. But that cannot be my only reason for doing this, or I would be crushed in 2 seconds. Or if not 2 seconds, 2 years or 4 years. Publishing is freaking brutal. I was in a downward spiral today, which I'm not even going to get into. That was on the agenting side. But it's brutal. It's brutal. It's not a
So you have to do it for
industry.
You, because all those books might end up sitting in your drawer, right?
They will sit in your drawer.
But you still love them, I'm sure. Like, still enjoyed them, still had the fun in the process. You learned.
Done. And if I learned something, if I processed something, this is the book where I processed my trauma about this or my grief about this, it was still valuable, and I don't have to be completely destroyed, even though it'll always hurt to be rejected.
Right. Yeah. I think that's just human nature.
It is.
But,
yeah.
What is the darkest idea that you've had that scared you about yourself?
Ooh. Do you want to know the actual idea or just...
Yeah. If you want to say it, I do want to know it.
Well, I don't know what it is. I'm just trying to wrap my head around the question. The darkest idea I've ever had. Oh. I can't tell you because it's part of a book I'm thinking of writing.
Okay.
But it was quite dark, and I shocked my husband. I was like, I had like been talking to him about this plot. I knew the backstory. This is always my problem. I knew the backstory, but I wasn't sure what's happening in the actual book. I know how we got to this point. I know the past murder and the crisis, and the secrets that are covered up, but like who is caring about it now? And so I'd finally figured that all out, and we, I don't know, brainstormed about who can do what. And then I had this evil twist that popped into my mind, and it's so terrible. And I told Adam, and he was like, no. And I was like,
then yes.
Yes. Now this is the only way I can end this book. And it's just,
like now there's no other ending. Especially if you're saying no, ending. That means, yeah.
Oh, but it gives me like the shivers to think about. So, yeah. But yeah, sorry, I can't tell you about it. But yeah.
Well, I'm looking forward to reading that.
I haven't drafted it. It's still
when you get there.
Yeah, hopefully next year. It's on my list of like, it's that one or another one that I might want to do next. So
yeah. So what part of the process is your favorite? And what part is your least favorite?
Right now, none of it is my favorite. I didn't have a lot of fun writing in this summer. There were a couple writing sessions that were fun. I think it'll be a good book in the end, fingers crossed, but it was just not enjoyable. I'm starting revisions, which I do normally enjoy, and that's not enjoyable either. Because I need to turn them in 2 weeks, and we have like multiple out-of-town guests staying with us next week. The kids are starting school, and I'm like, I don't know what day I'm going to do this revision. I don't know which one. There are none left, but generally, drafting is miserable, and revising is really fun. That's normally my answer. It just hasn't been the case with this book.
Yeah. I think a lot of authors have like that book, and maybe they have multiple of that book, but I've heard that very commonly that it is sometimes you just get a book that is like, this is terrible to write.
Yeah, and you think it's not good because it was terrible to write, but I have learned that's not an equivalent. I had a book well, it's on submission right now with my agent. It just went out recently, and I wrote it many years ago. 2 or 3, I don't know. It was one of those that I tried to write probably for 3 years in a row, and I would get like 10,000 words in, get stuck, and be like, I don't know, give up. And I would literally go back to it every February and November. I don't know why, but I looked in Google Drive and I'm like, oh, February reboot, November reboot, February, November. There's like a pattern. So I tried. Finally, I wrote it, and it was such a miserably excruciating process to write this stupid book that I was convinced it was trash, and I didn't even tell my agent I had written it. Like, she didn't even know it existed. I was like, forget that book. I did get to the end, but screw it. And we were on a call, actually, after I sold Killer Getaway Beach Bodies. We popped on a call and had our little recap call about whatever the editor was talking about. And my agent, Lauren, was like, yeah, so this book, like, we're looking good. Awesome. La, la, la. What else? Do you have anything that you're working on? And I was like, no. She's like, really, Jenna? You don't have anything? You really don't have anything kicking around? She knew. I don't know how she knew. I was like, okay, fine. I have this really terrible book that I wrote last year, like 6 months ago, and it sucks, or however long ago, maybe it's been a year at that point. She was like, send it. I'll read it. She read it, and guess what? It didn't suck.
Isn't that amazing?
I was like, are you sure? Because I was so convinced that I did not even tell people I wrote it. Like, how bad I thought it was. Yeah. But then, like, she gave me notes, and I revised it. And as I was revising, that was actually really enjoyable. I was like, oh, this book is great.
Like this is so much better. But it was the experience, because of your experience of, like, dragging yourself through it, right? Yeah. I have a friend of mine who, her second book, she said it all the time, that it almost killed her. Like, that book almost killed her. And I was, it's your best book.
Oh,
it's the best one.
I relate. I relate. I've learned, though, and so this summer with the miserable writing experience, I was like, I'm not gonna think it's a bad book just because it's hard.
Yeah.
So I managed to kind of learn from my
that helps, I bet.
Past mistakes.
Okay, so last question is, what is your old school favorite mystery or thriller? So, like, for me, it's like Sidney Sheldon's Nothing Lasts Forever from the 90s and Patricia Cornwell, Postmortem.
So this is a little bit of a sad thing about me, is I didn't really realize there was a thing called genre fiction for like many years, probably until my 30s.
Okay.
Like, so I grew up in Spain, and most of my pleasure reading I did in English, but from books my parents had brought over with us. So it was like Charles frickin' Dickens. I'm like, I don't know what to tell you.
That's why you're so smart.
No, I missed out, man. I mean, I enjoyed all the classics. We had bookshelves and bookshelves full of hundreds of classics, and I read them. But I didn't realize, even like I majored in English in college. That also didn't serve me with the genre
Yeah.
fiction. And so that's what
No.
I thought books were, is that. And it was
Yeah.
only like much later that I was like, what is commercial fiction? Genre fiction? What is the, I didn't even know the genres. Like I was just, anyway, that's a whole other topic. So I only really started reading genre fiction when I started writing and realized,
Okay.
oh, there's a thing. And I need to
Yeah.
like quickly read a lot. So I don't have a lot of old school, I don't have a ton of a backlog of those books.
Well, like what was the book that made you say like, okay, I'm gonna try writing?
Oh gosh, cozy mysteries.
Okay.
The
Oh my
genre-ist
God.
of genre
Can't
fiction.
help it. Like, you gotta love a cozy. There's a little animal always. Like, it's so
There's
great.
like a baker. She moved to a small
Yes.
town. There's a love triangle. Like people keep dying, but no one is traumatized.
See, I feel like what you have is elevated cozy. This Killer Getaway. It's just a cozy, but really elevated.
You know, maybe.
Yeah.
My first attempt at a novel was a true cozy.
Okay.
12 years ago or whenever that was, and I wrote it in like a month, and it was terrible. I'm sure I haven't looked at it in like a decade, but I credit all the cozy mysteries my mother-in-law lent me with me being like, oh, there's a structure here, there's this genre is accessible and I understand how to do it. And that's why I think I was able to start writing, is because I could wrap my head around, I guess, reader expectations and what the general shape of something was, and then I could plug all my own fun little terrible ideas into
things
that
like
structure.
in the little, that makes sense. That's really cool.
Yeah,
I like it. So thank you so much for joining me today, Jenna. Where can people find you?
Oh, all over the socials. I'm on X as Jenna Schmenna. I'm also on Blue Sky. I'm on Instagram as Jenna.Sattherwaite.author, which is way too long, but I don't know. There it is. It's fine. And then my Substack. I have a newsletter. It comes out every Tuesday, and I yap about things, my feelings at times about publishing, my feelings about agenting, authoring, no, and practical things as well. I'm working on one right now about what I've been hearing from editors this year on the agenting side, like specific things that I have literally heard, and some of them are downers. Spoiler alert.
Yeah.
No.
Well, I think it's also the reality of the situation, right? Like,
exactly.
It's tough out there, everybody. It's tough out there.
That was my spiral today, was a rejection from an editor that, without saying too much, it wasn't that they rejected the book. That happens every day, multiple times. Like, that's fine. But it was, they were looking for something that I was like, no, dude, no. This should not be this way. And no, and I just don't support this at all in this industry. And I'm going to give you a spoiler. It's platform. They wanted
oh God,
again, right? And this is in the young adult space. And I've heard it in romance. I've heard it in romantasy, and I don't like it there either. But
I don't like it at all either, because, like, I mean, what social media is just so recent. Books have been selling for literally hundreds of years.
We can sell them without it. I mean, we can use it, but no.
We don't have to. Anyway. Yes. Okay, great. But if you are on social media, because that's a really great place to get a chance to talk to your author friends like Jenna. Also, I'm on there. You can find me at Sabrina Thatcher Author on Instagram. And if you want more information about my book coaching services, you can go to crimeandquill.com. Until next time, stay sharp and write twisted.